I'm Bjorn from Skeino, and today I'm in front of our Boucle yarn, which one makes the teddy cowl. And the session I'm talking about in the yarn group is Boucle yarns, brushed yarns, mohair yarns, fancy yarns, all these things I really like, and they're always welcome in the dye kitchen and for new projects. So just follow me in this section and see you soon there. These groups of yarn samples are very textured, and I have to confess I like them a lot, and I like to knit a lot with them. Not with all of them, because some are a little bit tricky. So two of them here from the side are the typical boucle yarns, and you can see the yarn is pretty thin, but it has the loops all the way around, and I personally don't like this yarn. What it does looks pretty, but I don't like it because sometimes you have a loop on your needle and then you're adding stitches to it and you don't know it. Sometimes you need to work with good light so you're not adding stitches. This is a pretty big one. Usually or very often the loop yarns or the boucle yarns are made with quite a good amount of mohair or kid mohair. This one is a little thinner, but still has the same loops. So these are the typical boucle yarns. What you need to know about the boucles, sometimes you can read on the label the binder is nylon. Because of the loops, the yarn needs to be bound together, and you see that when I untwist this, that the loops are not coming loose. There is a nylon thread holding this all in place. So this is called the binder, and the nylon is the strongest if you have really just a thin yarn, so it's almost invisible, but that's what the binder is for the boucle yarn. Here is, and I have a cone also, which one we are using. This is our flame yarn, and the flame yarn is thick and thin spun, and you can see the holding thread here, which one is holding the thick and thin ends together. It can be the binder as Lurex, or it can be also a thin thread. It could be also made from wool, but then it needs to be a 2-ply yarn and a thick and thin spun yarn, which one is single. It's very effective, it's nice and soft. We have this yarn in our Cuddle Afghan, and there are more items to come for fall and winter this year. So, and here is another one. It's very soft. This is done from baby alpaca. It is the same. You can see the thick portion, the thin portions, and the thick portions, and then you knit it because the thick and thin is not evenly done. It's kind of a by accident machine who feeds more fiber into the spinning machine, so that there is no repeat in the thick and thin parts. That is a big difference. When you buy thick and thin yarn, the distances from one thicker part and one thinner part, it should be always not the same. Otherwise you would knit islands of all bumps with thicker portions or islands with all thinner portions, which one are not very pleasant to look at. This one here is very fun, fancy. It's a boucle, and there are all kinds of, it's a little snowflakes lined up here, and then you see like a little feather living in here. So this is really kind of very fancy. I don't know, I can take this apart here. Yeah, I can. So let's see what it does. So it's all kinds of stuff. It's probably heavy a nylon involved or acrylic or something. So we will not do it because the acrylic cannot be dyed. That's good. So it cannot sneak into a hand dyer's kitchen. So that was that one. And another one here is very nice. It is actually a woven a piece of fabric, and then they cut it they cut it in stripes and brush it. So this is the woven part. It's like a long eyelash, but the texture is nice and it's not eyelashy, so it looks like a little teddy bear. And this yarn here is a boucle, but the difference between this boucle and the boucle I had first, which one has the loops, this is brushed. So because it is brushed, there are no loop openings, and you cannot by accident have more stitches on your needle. So this is my preferred boucle, and I have a few more. This is a very fine one here. Has a really a very little boucle effect, but it's nice. And you knit with this, and you just use the purl side as the right side. It gives you a nice texture, and it's almost like it looks like not knitted. This is also brushed here, this yarn, and it's a kid mohair. It's a single yarn and has a little boucle effect, but it is brushed. It's a lace, so you can knit with large needles, but the brush effect just fills the holes when you knit with large needles. So you can really, knitting lace, have a very lightweight thing. Our operator shawl is using the kid mohair like this, so this is a nice one. This is the same, but it's slightly thicker, so this can be used, let's say, with needles up to 15, so it's really brushed. Very nice and soft. I like it a lot, and it's not scratchy or itchy at all. This one is kind of the same, but it's not as much brushed. And let me pull this out. So no, it's not. These are two. So this is kind of a fancy yarn. It's like a ladder, as you can see it here. So, but it's twisted together and you don't see it anymore. This is really nice. It's a very interesting texture. So all these one are always asked for less pattern because you use the yarn to create with just knitting or purling or garter stitch. You just create a very fancy surface on your knitting. So this group is something I really like.